look at this. And now, once again, that ceremonial photo opportunity. Both Indian and Russian media and Maria, the world will be looking at these pictures very, very closely, especially the Tri-Services Guard of Honor given to the Russian president. Incidentally, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, made by the British in pre-independence India, is now hosting the Russian head of state.
And, you know, we have been talking about the photo opportunity. One would say that it always goes beyond photo opportunity, Gaurav, because it's a display of trust which has been built over decades of steady engagement, which is tested in a world that keeps shifting around them. From here, President Putin will be heading to Rajghat for paying tributes to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. And that's where the minister in waiting for President Putin will be in attendance. And from there, he heads to the Hyderabad house for the bilaterals, and then will be the Russia-India summit at Bharat Mandapam. Again, very crucial venues chosen, very historic places chosen for each and every moment of this visit of President Putin. He leaves India around 9 p.m. tonight, but before that, everything seems to be working as per the clock, right to the clock, Gaurav.
So in just moments from now, he'll be at Rajghat to pay respects to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. He's been there several times in the past, and you just saw these images of the ceremony. This is the first leg of his official annual summit, the 23rd Russia-India or India-Russia annual summit. He was last here in 2021. This is the first time he's come here after the Russia-Ukraine war. He's very clear on what his vision for the conclusion of this war is. And look at the Raisina Hill, the South Block and the North Block seen in these images, decked in the Indian tricolor and the Russian Federation flag. He's spoken highly of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that the Prime Minister keeps India's supreme national interest first. Now the Prime Minister is seeing off the President. So protocol, Maria, being followed
and
to
that's
the
something very beautiful about the protocol. Somehow I really like that, Gaurav. You know, it speaks volumes of the tradition, the culture, and at the same time, what we see as a sovereign display of the various offices in India. The President, now the Prime Minister, is leaving for the Hyderabad house, where the meeting will be beginning, the bilateral meetings between the two leaders. He has already hosted President Putin for a private dinner. Let's go straight to Rajghat, where Ashutosh is joining us. Ashutosh, we have been speaking about the soft power, the significance of how, yes, there will be some serious talks, but as far as the soft power, the cultural connect is concerned, that has also been on full display with the fact that the Prime Minister presented Bhagavad Gita to President Putin at his home last evening.
And Bhagavad Gita also, Maria, when it talks about karma, and it also mentions about the Mahabharata, that why protecting your land and fighting for a cause was defined as a dharma. So that's also defined as soft power, the cultural heritage that was explained through the world power, was soft diplomacy, when that Bhagavad Gita. But on the very same day, next day, this morning that we see, the President Putin is also visiting Rajghat. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, the founding father, the father of the nation, who was also, who symbolizes actually globally, not only the India's, the peace that India stands for. Remember when the Russia is in conflict with, Prime Minister always advocated about peace between Russia and Ukraine when he met Zelensky, and even while meeting with Putin, he always focused on that there should be a peace, because eventually it disrupts the entire global chain. But in the meanwhile, we're just having a very close look, probably is a matter of seconds now, when President Putin will be arriving at Rajghat to pay tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, and that makes it very significant, not just in optics optics or a customary tradition that we often see that any state guest that visits often come here, bring a tribute to peace and non-violence. Because by visiting Rajghat to honor Gandhi, Putin is going to pay respect to one of India's and the world's most recognized symbol of non-violence and moral leadership. Given the ongoing conflict and tensions such as gestures and projects, message of peace and mutual conflict, because that looks like a cavalcade just about to reach, probably just a matter of seconds. The entire security apparatus has been beefed up, the entire area is barricaded, cordoned off, and that's soft power diplomacy when you talk about that. Visit adds the culture and a moral dimension. I'll ask Pradeep Gupta to constantly focus only on the shots, because any second the cavalcade will be arriving. Because the visits adds a culture and moral dimension. You mentioned, Maria, that what otherwise a politically and economically heavy summit, defense, trade, energy, strategic cooperation, and it also frames India-Russia ties not only as transactional but also grounded in mutual respect and for values and history.
In fact, he's visited Rajghat before on earlier state visits, and he's written about Mahatma Gandhi. In fact, once when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Ashutosh, had visited Moscow, that time President Putin presented him some written notes on Mahatma Gandhi as a gift. And it's amazing that even in the past, when he spoke of Nelson Mandela, he spoke of Mahatma Gandhi and the importance Mahatma Gandhi holds in the world. This comes at a time when there's so much conflict on in the world, and Mahatma Gandhi was seen as the apostle of peace.
And even during the interview, when Putin said that the war is not actually without a cause. There is a cause. He is protecting the territory. He is protecting his own nation, his own people. When there is a cause, then exactly we see the context of Bhagavad Gita, that Mahabharata was for a cause. The Pandavas fight for a cause. And sharing from the cultural heritage, India's belief, and then coming to tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, India symbolizes everything. That if there is a need, we will fight for it. If there is a need, the world needs a peace as well. And that's exactly how it defines soft power diplomacy. When we see the balancing global optics, considering the Russia's international context, you mentioned about this, especially because of Ukraine. This act of homage may help soften public perception, signaling that Russia also values cultural diplomacy and the mutual respect with India rather than just power politics. You mentioned how Putin, when he handed over the text that was mentioned about Nelson Mandela and, of course, Mahatma Gandhi. So in a broader context, this visit at a time when India and Russia are exploring deeper cooperation, trade, defense, energy, technology. Two countries have set ambitious goals, boosting bilateral trade, expanding cooperation across sectors, reinforcing special privileged strategic partnership. So all coming together, the optics also matters, because a lot of pictures that we've seen since yesterday from Prime Minister himself reaching to the airport, receiving President Putin, driving him in a car and taking to Prime Minister's residence for a dinner, presenting him in Bhagavad Gita. This morning we are seeing the warm welcome at the President House, ceremonial guard of honor. So everything, when the world is looking in a multipolar, this kind of landscape that we are seeing in the geopolitics, this clearly explains the picture. The two sides are two nations who have been brotherhood. There has been a friendly relationship, and it is just a matter of a year or a couple of years, decades, many decades long. From 1971, in the critical time when India was in a war with Pakistan, the role that Russia played during then, since today, when there is a despite conflict, the Russia remains to be one of the closest ally of India. So soft power, and from the the transactional relationship between these two nations, everything is defining a moment for the entire global community, Gaurav.